Mr. Ahmad appoints an architect and a team of consultants for the building project. In this construction process, the team members involved are architect, facade specialist, green building consultant, landscape architect, contractor, quantity surveyor, civil and structural engineers, mechanical and electrical engineers, interior designer, site supervisor, safety officer, town planner, and land surveyor. There are 5 steps in this construction process. Step 1. Schematic design process. This step refers to the planning of the construction project. Before the architect starts to prepare the drawings, site analysis is carried out by the architect to determine whether the land is suitable for the following development. In the process of site analysis, the land surveyor conducts site surveying and soil investigation as well as the site measurement. The land surveyor also assists the architect in the documentation of site conditions besides having a pre-consultation with local authorities regarding the planning application. The architect will then analyze the client's need and come up with a conceptual sketch proposals, where the concept design can be simply a series of sketches, ideas, and exploration, including design illustrations, indicative plans, sections, and elevations, as well as 3D models of a development approach. Next, the quantity surveyor starts to prepare a preliminary cost plan which helps to establish a working budget for the project elements and form a valuable assessment tool in the design process. This also enables the client to manage the financial throughout the construction process. After that, the mechanical and electrical engineers will request utilities like electricity, water, and telecommunication from the respective departments. For example, electricity from Tenaga Nasional Berhad and water from Syabas. The last step of the schematic design process refers to the civil and structural engineers, where they need to decide the spots for the installation of underground infrastructure. Move on to step 2, which is the design development process. In this project, the design development is branched into 2 procedures, which is the subdivision process followed by the demolition process. The town planner and land surveyor are highly involved in the design development project. Town planner helps to draft and review the planning for the applications, such as preparing the policy or guidance documents for the subdivision process. The land surveyor gets ready a plan for subdivision and other details needed for planning subdivision process, as well as the documentation procedure under the Subdivision Act 1988. The demolition process will start when the proposed subdivision is approved. Step 3. Contract documentation process. The architect prepares construction and detailed drawings. The quantity surveyor will prepare a bill of quantities and organize the calling of tenders. Step 4. Contract implementation and management process. The contractor along with the subcontractors plays important roles in ensuring the safety of the workers in the construction site. Workers in the construction site should wear safety glasses, hard cape, high visibility clothing, protective gloves, and safety footwear. The consultant team, inclusive of architect, mechanical and electrical engineers, and the civil and structural engineers, coordinates with the contractor on the site issues. The consultant team carries out interval site visits to ensure the works go well along with the building contract. Subsequently, the contractor will submit claims to the architect and the quantity surveyor. Our client, Mr. Ahmad, had required to insert a curtain wall for the bungalow. Facade specialist is responsible to build this curtain wall and always consider on the design, certification, and installation of the building facade. The last step is the final completion step. The parties involved get certificate by signing Form G1 to G21 for the respective scope of works. When the building is fit and safe for occupancy, the architect will issue certificate of completion and compliance. The quantity surveyor prepares final bill of quantities and issues final certificate of payment to the contractor.
A client is a person who usually initiates the project. However, a client doesn't necessarily have to be an occupant of the building. This client may make a profit by selling or renting the building to someone else. Despite being a client, they should explain the purpose of project clearly, discuss requirements of the building with the architect, and most importantly, provide a reasonable budget.
What is a land surveyor? A professional who carries out surveys to identify boundaries and features of land to determine ownership. Land surveying is a science of determining the terrestrial or three-dimensional position of points and the distance and angles between them. Surveyors are the first people on any construction site measuring and mapping the land. Surveyors ensure buildings not only fit with the landscape but are able to be constructed. They use the latest technologies such as high-order GPS and robotic total stations. Surveyors then use AutoCAD to draft plans and map the on-site measurement. Important of their involvement to prevent legal disputes, make precise measurements, provide data relevant to shape and contour of Earth's surface. The task for a land surveyor is to determining, locating, and defining the boundaries of public and private land, collect, analyze, and manage geographic data, producing plans, maps, files, databases, models, charts, and reports for clients. A surveyor's job is all about accuracy, whether determining boundaries, mapping topography, or performing construction layouts. Next, enjoy working both outdoors and behind a computer. Many surveyors today need to be a little tech-savvy in order to navigate sensitive equipment, process data, and produce survey maps using AutoCAD or similar programs. Mathematical knowledge. Although computer programs and scientific calculators do a lot of the work for a surveyor these days, it's still very important that the surveyor be proficient in math, as surveying is all numbers and jobs are often completed through the use of trigonometric equations. Lastly, a surveyor has to be able to research legal documents to find evidence.
An architect plays the most important role in the building process because not only they design buildings, they also supervise the building construction. The building designed is according to what the client wants and must abide the standard rules. Then they will produce architectural drawings, which consists of plan, floor plan, elevations, sectional, and perspectives. This continues until both architect and client are satisfied with outcome and ready to move on. Being organized is essential since they keep records of different contract details of project, cost and budget details, time limit, and day-by-day progress report. An excellent communication skill is required to discuss technical issues in design and implementation with other team players.
As a landscape architect, our main duty is to design an area that is functional, beautiful, and harmonious with the natural environment. And we also plan the location of the building, scrub, tree, flower, and road within the environment. Site visit is also our important duty, as after a site visit, we will analyze the environment report on land condition and come out with the site plan, specification in order to select the appropriate material for use in the landscape design, and lastly, come out with a cost estimate. We will also confer with the client, engineer, and building architect to understand the project, and this will help us to design more appropriately to our client requirement on the buildings. Main task of landscape architect is to create plan, design, and drawing, advise on matter to do with environmental conservation, produce estimated cost, discuss requirement with client, and oversee project as they progress. The skill that landscape architect should have is good design and drawing skill, because this will equip a landscape architect to provide a more proper or suitable design to the client. Secondly, good communication and negotiation skill.
An interior designer plays important role in making interior spaces functional, safe and beautiful by determining space requirements and selecting decorative items such as colors, lighting and materials. In the initial meeting with the client, the design team determines the project scope and budget. In the design process, the interior designer helps the architect and contractor in designing the locations of rooms and spaces. Next, the design team creates design concepts and presentations and modify based on feedbacks given. The design team will finalize drawings, schedules, furniture, lighting, finishes, fabric selections, and other specifications once the client has approved the design concept. A simple meeting is to be conducted with the design team regarding the client's needs, budget, and even time frame. The design team will come up with a creative brief summarizing all the client's needs. Right before getting the CCC from the MPPJ, the interior designer starts to design the furniture and fitting. Tasks of an interior designer includes to determine client's goal and requirement for the project, to sketch preliminary design plans including electrical layouts, to specify materials and furnishing such as lighting, furniture, wall finishes, flooring and plumbing fixtures, to create a timeline for the interior design project and estimate project costs, to place order for materials and oversee installing the design elements.
A quantity surveyor, also known as construction cost consultant, keeps an eye on project finances and contractual relationships. They make sure the financial position is accurately reported and controlled effectively. Their task includes working out what the client can afford to build to make sure initial budget isn't exceeded. They also deal with legal matters like arrangement of staff payments at the end of a job. Quantity surveyors are responsible of preparing tender and contract documents such as bill of quantities, as well as locating and accessing additional and alternative source of funding for clients.
In general, as a civil and structural engineer, our duty is to plan, design, and oversee construction and maintenance of building structure and infrastructure, such as road and railways. We also design and build tall buildings and large structures that can. In this scenario, civil and structural engineer have to produce civil and structural plans for client to acknowledge about their bungalow design and for approval. We need to confirm design requirements of the architect in our drawings to avoid mistakes. Furthermore, we have to submit procedures for planning approval such as building plan and relevant Form G and Form F for Certificate of Completion and Compliance known as CCC before the start of construction. Both engineers have to calculate the loads and stresses of the construction to make sure the bungalow can withstand safely and avoid from collapse. Next, we always ensuring that the construction is carried out according to design specification that's stated in Uniform Building by Laws known as UBBL, such as loading and fire resistance requirements. We will having numerous meetings with the construction professions for coordinating on site issues throughout the construction. We also making site visits to check on progress and make sure the job is done on time and run as what had stated in the building contract until the construction had successful. Skills needed by civil and structural engineers such as analytical thinking, critical thinking, leadership skills, and more. Are not least, we have the responsibility to ensure the buildings and other structures that build will not deflect, rotate, or collapse and can hold up to all.
The mechanical and electrical engineer is going to design and give advice on the installation of various types of building services such as air conditioning, ventilation, and so on. They have to do the plumbing system, aircon piping, installation of gutter, sanitary system, and the installation of electric wires. The engineers have to make a planning of the design and make a test before the installation. They have to conduct research that tests and analyze the feasibility, design, operation, and performance of the equipment, components, and systems. Besides, they have to supervise the whole installation of the building progress to make sure that it is safe and fulfill the client standard before handed to the client. As a good mechanical and electrical engineer, you must have the ability to work well both as part of a team and on your own. Yet, you should be good in technical drawing and familiar with industry-specific software. Lastly, you should be good in communication so the project can be carried on well. There are a few key points to be a successful mechanical and electrical engineer. First, you should have good, excellent numeracy skill for detail and good design. Then, you should have excellent people and time management skills to save the time for the project. Besides that, You should have strong communication skills to communicate well with the client and contractor. Lastly, you must have a strong technical drawing skills. With the important skills which stated just now, you could be a good mechanical and electrical engineer which works well in this scenario.
A green specialist is a person who helps people make better buildings with sustainable features that benefit the environment and owners of the building. Most of this has to be achieved with minimum cost escalation and less energy usage. Their work consists of practices in energy and water management, which includes providing data on energy efficiency and water efficiency. Green specialists should also suggest ways to reduce waste at site and improve indoor air quality. Their role is to use their knowledge in sustainability to reduce the impact of buildings on environmental issues. A green specialist must be trained professionally through programs and because they also have the right to provide their stamp of approval in almost all areas of design and planning. The Green Building Index is Malaysia's industry-recognized green rating tool for buildings to promote sustainability within its built environment as well as raise awareness about our environmental issues and responsibilities. To be certified, you must achieve 50 to 75 points. To be awarded silver, 66 to 75 points. Gold, 76 to 85, and lastly, platinum, more than 86. A green specialist is important because we need them to increase efficiency in every aspect of a building process. Besides that, they also help to reduce impact on human health and environmental issues.
What is a contractor? A contractor is a manager that is employed by a client to get involved in a project. What should they submit for a project? A contractor should submit a fixed price proposal or bid and also cost estimation. The general contractor considers the cost of material and equipment, as well as the cost of labor to provide to the owner with the price of the project. The contractor should have enough resources to complete the first stage of the construction. After that, contractors shouldn't be forget about having insurance in this project in case of anything happens. The contractor will need people like supervisor to make sure the project runs smoothly. For the payment of contractor, architect will provide a cert in each stages for the contractor to claim money from the clients. There are some skills that contractors must have, such as strong communication skills to help a contractor understand and manage the client's expectation. Next is comfortable and adapt with technology. Contractor must keep up to date on emerging trends to ensure your crews continue its ability to complete work more quickly and accurate than the competition. Moreover, is project management. Technically involve many skills but all come together in the ability to execute successful construction project. Running project that finish on time and on budget is the key to succeed a construction career. Lastly, math and language literacy. Contractor need to be able to do basic math, and this is to ensure the right amount building material will be there. For the subcontractor is hired by the main contractor. The incentive to hire a subcontractor is to reduce cost and project risk. There are two types of subcontractor. One is domestic subcontractor, another one is nominated subcontractor. The domestic subcontractor is contract with main contractor and employed by main contractor. However, the nominated subcontractor applies with certain contract permit the architect or supervising officer or client to reserve the right of the final selection and approval of subcontractor. But a contract is still between the contractor and subcontractor. The main contractor is permitted to make profit from the use of nominated subcontractor.
The first stage in a building process is the schematic design phase. Then we have the design development, and the third is contract documentation. Then we have the contract implementation and management, and last but not least, the final completion. The first stage in a building process is the schematic design phase. Then we have the design development. Were you able to extract any lesson from the video? Our lesson learned here is teamwork plays a crucially important role in the construction industry. It helps team players to finish their own jobs on time. It will help increase quality and productivity of work, therefore result in a successful project. Job well done! However, without teamwork, it could lead to all sorts of bad things happening. For example, a shaky foundation will increase the chance of building to collapse. Without teamwork, it could lead to all sorts of bad things happening, like a shaky foundation which will increase the chance of building to collapse. And I'll leave that to your imagination.